Hello and welcome to All Don't Know Dice, the worst excuse for a D&D show you can find online. From last we left off, the Companions of Fate found themselves regrouping and calming down within the large hidden cavern system after locating and defeating Mogrush the Defiler. Through talks of where your allies lie and what situation you find yourselves in, either to find yourselves moving towards Brenton or attempt to locate and aid Duke to defeat Cruel the Pillager, Tara pondered on what Bar had to share on the subject of his preferred pacifism. Just after Gerald healed up the ogre, you all spoke regarding what you may owe Duke and what to do next. Ralof began to settle down and cook a tasty meal, and Bar began to regale of his history with his brother and his brother's adventures with another adventuring party, and all of the tales he has been a party to. After taking stock of everything, the night quickly came as you all settled down for a rest that you all deserved. Most of you finding a restful slumber. However, Tara found a vision flash through her mind. A prisoner, a killer, a woman's stern voice, and an execution. Now, the morning comes through, finding no light peeking into this dark, dank cavern, seeing the small campfire barely flickering as its embers continue to sputter and glow. You all rise and take a deep breath. Cold exhale as the cavern air hits you a lot cooler than the surrounding desert. This is where we pick it up. So, all of you can mark down a long rest, and you just take a deep breath in as the very earthy air wafts into your nostrils. And you can almost feel the dampness just gently hit the bottom of your nose as, with the running waterfall going into this small little subterranean oasis, it's caused a lot of the moisture and the heat from outside to just cause some of the water to precipitate and just rest on the edges of these natural cavern walls.
I'm gonna just have a look at how Bar is, to see if he's still sleeping or if he's off somewhere.
You see Bar is still propped up against that rock formation that he kind of broke into in the wall, and you do just hear the constant and just this low grumble.
I am going to check the back of my neck, just to check if there's any blood or residue that's gone onto it.
You
see if it was like a feeling of my own.
You touch the back of your neck, and you feel a slight raise, a slight line of raised skin, but it dips in the center, almost like a scar that time has long since passed.
I'm going to sit down, cross my legs, and in a typical, like, if you imagine it, it's going to look like a monk, but instead of doing this, it's going to be like palms down into legs. I'm just going to close my eyes and focus, and I'm going to meditate, basically. I only need, well, because it's a cantrip, I don't think I need any time, but I'm just going to do it anyways.
Okay.
For a good solid minute, I'm just going to full on concentrate. And I'm going to change one of my spells.
Okay.
From guidance to mend.
Okay. So you see Tara just settle herself down, closing her eyes.
Yep.
And
full concentration.
Gerald's going to make some tea for the moment. Okay. I'll carefully go to the sort of, what's it called, the river pot that is raining, to then use the winter kettle to fill that up
Yeah.
and boil it.
Yeah, very, very quickly you scoop up, and as you hold both, and it's already boiling and bubbling.
So as you come out of your meditation, Tara, we'll have a few cups of tea that essentially sit around.
Fantastic.
Because I even still have some good berry left, so I could probably scratch them. Because you gave me a few spare.
Lovely. And they'll last for 24 hours anyways. The magical effect anyway, so that's cool.
Nice. So there you go.
Delicious.
So, are we leaving as soon as?
I feel like when we're ready to go and bar's up and ready, I feel like the best plan of action is to find Cruel. If everyone else obviously thinks the same.
We should get ready now. Yeah, I'll head over to bar and just sort of like tap his foot, which probably won't do much.
And you just see his leg shaking, his foot kind of slightly twitch.
Bar, we need to go. I'll just sort of tap his foot more as I'm saying that.
And as he turns his head, you just see like a long string of just drool that is like caught on his shoulder from his mouth, and it just stretches like almost like a string of spaghetti or melted cheese is just.
I'm going to actually, I'm going to back up a little bit, and then I'm going to take out the. What's it called?
Don't kill him.
I'm not going to kill him.
Roll him off the abyss.
I'm gonna take out the Sierra's breath. Open it so that it just blows air onto his exposed leg.
As you hold it out and you uncap it, you are instantly just as it pushes into your sternum, almost winding yourself as this torrent just gusts against Bar.
Once I see his awakening, I'll just shut it back again.
I was dreaming.
Was it a
What
good
were you
dream?
dreaming about?
I thought it was exactly.
I saw these pretty horses. And I grabbed them and ate them.
Sounds beautiful.
Well, speaking of, don't we have the horses still at the entrance to the whole place?
Breakfast.
No! I
We have
know.
to return these horses. Oh, sorry.
And you just see Bar slowly reach into like a small side pouch, and you just see him like in his hand just cupping it, pulling out like a full like horse head.
Nice.
The dream has become terrifying reality.
Where
could you
did you get that bar?
You got it in his pocket?
You did bring that with you, didn't you? It wasn't our horses outside.
Mine.
I'll insight that, I guess. Why not? We haven't
check.
done an insight in ages.
For the next minute, I'm going to try to use mending on the eyeglass.
Okay.
While we're still doing little things.
Alright.
15.
15. He's very sure that the horse head he just ate was from a horse or parts of a horse that he brought from the temple. He is very sure. Tara, you just gently dance your fingers over the eyeglass, and the eyeglass itself begins to just shake slightly.
Okay.
And gently hum. Just
Okay.
a very faint. And just as it goes up, just a slight tone, you see the crack. And just disappear from the glass.
I'll kind of. Is there any kind of light coming from this deep cave, or just from any kind of light?
Right
So-
now, it would be the embered campfire and
Okay.
a couple of wall sconces that are set fairly far away, not really to provide like full like interior light, just to know where the walls are.
That's cool. I'm going to just kind of push it out like away from me, and kind of like have a good look to see and move it around to make sure it looks like it hasn't got any like random visions of it burning out or anything. That's solid clear glass.
You see that it is pristine.
Fantastic. I will put that back in my pocket. I'll take that as a great success.
Where are we going?
We are going to crawl. I'll kind of like look towards Gerald and rail off.
Does that mean more fighting?
Hopefully the fighting should already be done.
I hope so as well. They really hurt me.
But
You did take a surprising amount of hits.
I'll go towards his leg. But you're still with us.
Then you tap at the leg and he almost kind of flinches and just catches himself before he realizes he remembers that Gerald healed him and a lot of the wounds in his legs are now just faint scars.
Thank you, neighbor.
I appreciate the niceness, but it wasn't me. It was Gerald that helped you the most.
They'll give it like a small bow there for them.
Hugging.
And he just picks you up and you feel that
Yeah, catch me out from surprise if I did a small bow during that part.
yeah,
Like,
and,
shit.
yeah, as you come back up, and as you do, your whole body just launches forward and up into the air as Bar just puts you into his chest and just starts rubbing the back of your head with his thumb again.
Ah,
Good bird.
do I core in this moment? But Bar, if you do not wish to fight, do not have to. We will do any unpleasantness that if you do not wish.
But if they hurt my friends, I should be there too.
We appreciate it.
Whatever you decide to do, we will be fine.
And we still need to get out of this cave,
It's true.
which means getting back up there and going back through the cave.
That'll be easy.
So we are leaving now.
I think so, yes.
I'll just have a quick check if I've put all my cooking utensils back away.
Yeah, everything's packed. You do notice like one large spoon, just the one ladle that you always carry, is just next to the fire pit, gently obscured by a couple of the rocks around the pit. Before you quickly dart and yank it back, pop it in your bag. Everything's tidied up.
I thought I was one down. Okay, so let's go.
Yeah. Stock up on the water models. We're all gonna die in the desert
Good
again.
idea. Good.
I like the sound.
And albeit these small little spiral stone steps that lead back up to the raised 50-foot tall walkway, albeit they're slim, you find Bar is, at least in this moment, kind of nimble to like dance almost around slightly, but also kind of you do hear a couple cracks as he is like still groggy and coming out of his slumber and just gently resting or catching himself into one of the walls up the spiral staircase.
Just a check. We slept. We went in the cave early morning, didn't? Well, it would be midday, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, it took us a good 4 or 5 hours
Yeah.
didn't it, to get there.
Yeah, it took
And it
you.
was sunny.
Yeah, it took you about what 3.5 hours, and it was sunny or pretty much near crack of dawn. But then the time spent fighting, the time spent resting as well. I'll say, as you've got up, you are up at early hours of the morning.
Okay, cool. Would you say it's considerably colder than when we set off yesterday?
You all emerge out of the semi-hidden camp of Mogrush the Defiler, finding it's a little more obvious to see now with a huge part of the wall ripped down of this wooden cocoon. But as you all emerge and make your way through onto the ground level of the Crawler's Respite once more, you notice it's refreshingly breezy. The skies above are just at a barely like darker marine blue, and I'd say, Tara, you can estimate the time roughly now is give or take about 5 in the morning.
Okay.
Just before the sun is about to rise, and you see that nice kind of crisp, almost not dark morning, a very bright morning, but making the sky look a nice hue of like a grey blue.
Okay, that's cool. Guys, I think we should take full advantage of this and get the dunes ready. Travel as much as we can in this air.
And are we racing as fast as we can? Or are we taking our time a bit?
Are you saying, are we not going to do flips and are we going to do flips?
Gerald's just gonna sort of smile at that and be like,
We could do the occasional flip.
ah, good. I was getting worried for a second.
You
I was
crash
going
and
to be a
burn
burn.
into the sand. I'm not coming back to pick you up.
It's fine.
You will look after me though, won't you?
Of course.
I'll look after you as I'm going past. Yes.
If my little bird hurts himself, I will carry you.
Oh, you're all so lovely.
If you can just give me a minute before we actually set off. Bob, could I jump on your back for a second?
Okay.
I'll get ready for the brace to get picked
Yeah,
up.
and he just grabs you.
I'll step onto his shoulder so he doesn't have to keep his hand there. I'll get the pieces of cloth that I've taken from when we were coming down the path on any bits that might have ripped while he was crawling, and I'm going to place them back onto his back in a kind of idea that that's probably the bits there and there, and I'm just going to use mending to kind of repair his cloth back onto his actual
Alright.
material.
Yeah, you take a few moments and you... almost like a flash weld of just cloth just... and just sinking and compressing around to make one solid back of the
Awesome.
of his robes.
I'll give it a good old like tug test. Tap him on the back. Okay.
I don't know what you just did.
This seems to be Tara the Tailor now.
You had some cuts on the back with the material. I just fixed that.
Thank you.
It's okay. So, let's go.
Onwards.
Alright, so who's taking charge?
Say that I had the little map stat out, and I have an idea of where we went to get here. I'll kind of start the gist to go that way again.
Alright. So, can you roll a survival check for me?
I most certainly can. 17 plus survival, 7, 24.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay. Without any issue, you find you're able to check down the map, and then, even though the rest of this desert is almost nondescript in any sense of the word, and everywhere looks the same, you narrow your eyes with your keen vision, and you can almost envision the exact way you came, and you begin to lead on, following that instinct, and all of you begin to coast, following Tara with the heavy footfalls of Bar trudging along behind you, with that very high survival check as well.
Yeah.
You will get there, as the 3.5 hours you took to get to Mogrosh and his hideout.
Yeah.
This journey now, depending on what you do along the way, could potentially only take you 2.5 hours.
Tricks and flips. I feel confident in my ability. So if I see something, I'm gonna flip.
I mean, there's plenty of little on
Yeah,
ramps and little scoops. That
I hope that Gerald follows.
Well,
Instead of
Gerald's
him going
boss.
first and me
You've got
following.
what the fucking sell.
Yeah.
Alright, so Tara, as you find yourself just, and you just see like a slight embankment that scoops down and up.
Yeah.
You just straighten up perfectly as you step on the gas. What kind of trick do you do?
Because it's quite early, I'm just gonna go for an easier kind of trick. I'm gonna go and take both of my feet off, but kind of like behind.
Like Superman it.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
back on.
Yeah.
So nothing crazy,
Right.
crazy.
So
See how I feel.
roll a dex check for me.
It's not gonna be good. 8.
You kick your legs out, and as you come back down, your toes are just barely touching the Doom Whisper, as you kind of feel like a slight little in one of your toes as your legs come and just barreling into the Doom Whisper as you right yourself again and
Hastings.
continue on.
Yeah.
Geralt, during part of this, he is going to bring out the violin to then start. And before he then goes up the hill, as he's going to carry this on, and he's going to try and stand on top of the Doom Whisper sail before then dropping that down. He has had enough of Tara being able to beat him on these tricks.
Okay.
He is running.
I want you to roll a dex check for me and a performance check with disadvantage as you are attempting to play the violin while leaping up and standing on top of the sail of the Doom Whisper in this jump before it comes down and you come down with it.
So, dex check comes out at 8.
Okay.
And the performance check comes out at 12.
Okay.
How did the disadvantage work there?
So all you hear from behind you, Tara, is you turn around and you're kind of gritting through teeth, but you kind of smile at the same time, and you're just giving a thumbs up to Gerald and Rail off behind you. You just hear a slight... And as you see Gerald launch up into the air, you hear... As you see the Kenku almost like levitating up, and just as he's about to catch his foot on the sail, one foot just catches the main rail of the handhold, and you see the Doom Whisper begin to plummet straight away, and you hear and you just hear a screech on the violin as you see Gerald just plummeting head first.
Am I behind Gerald? I would actually, I would be.
You are behind, and just as you're coming up to that same slight embankment, whether you choose to jump or not, you see the Doom Whisper just into the sand straight away, and Gerald just comes down. Gerald, just as you're about to hit the ground, and you hit soft, spongy, grey flesh as you hear,
"I've got you!"
As you see Bar has just almost, as Tara and Rayloff, you both see, Bar just kind of uppercut swung his hand with almost a full rotation with both horses in the other arm as he, and you feel the wind taken out of you, and you do take 2 bludgeoning damage as he almost swats you out of the air, and he doesn't grit, but he just keeps you on his palm, and you are like almost starfished out on his palm, filling up about yay much of his hand.
Right. Oh, good catch, Bar. Good catch.
I will get your toy.
And he just like nudges you onto his large, broad platform with a shoulder before his hand just goes and just picks up by the sail your Doom Whisper.
Oh,
Do you want to play again with our friends?
Oh yes. We can't stop now. It's still... I'm just going to sort of hit the sail. Yeah, we're still intact. We're okay.
Okay.
And as he puts the Doom Whisper on his shoulder and you get on, he kind of just nudges his shoulder back.
Have you ever flown, little bird?
No, I'm a flightless species.
And he drops his shoulder, and all you can do on the Doom Whisper is just down his shoulder and in over his he's a very chunky sort of kind of let himself go kind of ogre, but you can feel as his arm tenses, the fat just kind of pushes up to a weird large bump as you coast down his forearm, and as you do, you feel the wind pick up against you as Bar just and just like lets you slide off his hand and just whips you forward. Not too hard, but just hard enough that you do find yourself just launch into the air. And Rayloff and Terry, you just see Gerald just hurling past you about 40 feet high in the air and making a nice crescent and arc to the sand. So, Gerald, what are you doing in that space of time?
Reattempting.
Would it actually be possible to manage to cast Major Image whilst doing this?
You want to cast Major Image?
Yes. Because it only requires a bit of fleece as a material component. It does have verbal and somatic. It's whether or not I could use my hands-ish without having to hold on too much.
I will say either roll a sleight of hand or roll a ability check for me with your spellcasting modifier.
Go with this sleight of hand to see if I can do with that. It makes more sense on that side. That's actually a 20, non-natural.
Nice. You have this idea spark in your head, and instantly you kind of jump up and you kind of like catch your legs and knees into that handhold, and for the brief moment you are steady and fixed to this Doom Whisper as it's just hurling over this.
Because what you're going to see in front of the Doom Whisper is steadily just these red streaks are going to start appearing, and then all of a sudden, essentially, it's going to turn it into like almost a fire vortex that is then just spinning around the Doom Whisper as he then flies through this air forward. Make it look like Bar's just throwing a massive fire arrow.
As you see, just as Gerald is just cresting, reaching the plateau before he begins to arc down, you see of this vortex of flame and inferno just encompass the front of the Doom Whisper, and traveling with it as it's just hurling through the air, almost like catapulting a large fireball. Hurling through the air.
I'm gonna scream, Bob, what have you found?
And you just hear that. And the fire just, as Gerald, you touch down on a nice sort of like inverted ramp coming down. You see the flames around you and just lick up.
I will transform them into then smoke to appear coming from the dune. Like, so essentially all you then see is me land and then black smoke is rising.
Oh yeah, as soon as you land, all of you behind, and Gerald, you have landed, I'd say a solid 60 feet ahead of both Terra and Rayloff, and both of you, including and Bar, all begin to see this column of thick black smoke.
Gotta get there as quickly as possible.
As you
Full
step
on.
down,
Gerald is going to wait, and it's just going to be sat on the Doom Whisper.
Takes you a few moments before you and come to a dead stop right next to Gerald's Doom Whisper. As you don't see him in the moment, you just see this thick plume of black smoke encompassing the entire Doom Whisper.
I'm gonna get off my Doom Whisper, slide down where his slide descent is, and say, Gerald! Tries to sort of find him.
Ah, so you're the one who cares the most about me.
Rayloff, just as you come up to the side of both of them, all you hear is just an echoing anime as the pillar of black smoke just quickly
Yeah, I'll lose the
dissipates.
concentration on that.
As you see Gerald just clutching the side of his face and Tara just regaling from the biggest bitch slap she's given today.
Terminally, don't do that again. And then I'm gonna climb up back on this other Doom Whisper and just in anger go.
You see Tara just ghost you as she just and just around you, Gerald, as you look past her, and she just doesn't look at you as she just around and ahead.
We're just gonna come up to Gerald. Stop. Well,
Gosh,
I can
women,
certainly say
am
you
I
have
right?
a way with women. I'm just gonna pat him on the back quite quite forcefully, just sort of push him forwards.
Ah, but they love it anyway. You can see the concern.
The concern and of that'll
would have
turn
thought
into
by-
anger that you pretended to be on fire and burn away.
You would have thought after the third time she'd check for an illusion. He still falls for it.
Come now, little friends.
And Bob begins to step over both of you.
Maybe take it a little more seriously, considering we've just been in a fight, and we may have to go in another one, where we almost all died again.
I suppose. But it's not so fun in the desert. We need something.
Neither is being stabbed 6 times in less than 30 seconds. I'm just gonna go.
But I thought that ice armor stopped the pain.
As all of you continue the journey, Tara now leading again. Kind of in a huff, kind of still staying perceptive. You very quickly find yourselves closing in on the Temple of Nesvidi a lot sooner than you originally anticipated, comparative to the prior journey.
Yeah.
And
with me being further, I would say a bit further away. I don't know on how specifically how long. When I see it, do I see any noticeable difference from when we left to at the distance that we are, like a good distance away?
roll a perception check for me. As you Tara, the other 3 of you, not too far behind anyway. Just I'd say maybe 100 feet, just catching up. Tara, you get to about 50 feet along that. While you're along that roadway that crosses over the Meridian Road, as it just cuts past
16.
it, and your eyes just, you have to blink, and you notice the doorway, the open doorway, is just bathed in crimson. The actual stone frame of the doorway, you notice a glimmer of dark crimson just almost pushed out and ejected and covering some of the steps and the main platform before it leads into the doorway.
I'm going to stop and wait for everyone to catch up.
Yeah. You hear a familiar as Bar returning with the horses, as well as Gerald and Rayloff come by on the Doom Whispers and come to a halt.
And I'll kind of
You instantly see Bar when you do that. You see him
Yeah.
as he comes up to you,
What's going on?
and he just sort of like belly flops onto the sand.
to the ground. Yeah. I'm going to crawl up the little bit of a hill, kind of peek my head out, and then look back at Bar and see if he understands that part.
And he just begins to like, pretty much like just drag himself like a slug across the sand, trying to find like handholds in, or just burying his hands into the sand to find purchase before he gently like pulls his large ogre body across the sand like a slug.
Loud enough for him to hear and everyone else, obviously, but quiet enough so no one else could probably hear from the distance. I'm right. That's not how we left it.
No, we did not.
Is this something that Krull would do?
I'm not sure.
Is there anyone that you think might do this?
If your friend found Cruel, he would not be able to come here and do this.
What do you guys think?
Can I try and inspect it from this distance to see if it is an illusion?
Roll an Arcana check. Oh, sorry.
16.
Yeah, I'll just stick with Arcana. I know that otherwise you can just make a perception check to see if something's an illusion or not. That was my mistake.
I didn't even know that, so that's cool.
It is not an illusion.
It's not an illusion.
Anytime that Gerald does anything. He's dying. Is that all an illusion?
Actually dying, I'd be like, nope.
No.
No.
Joke's on you, Gerald.
This could be quite serious again.
Are you positive?
It doesn't look to be magic. And that's a lot of blood. Who wants to
Really?
go first?
Do you have an idea of what we should do?
We should approach it carefully.
Bob, do you know any hidden ways in?
No,
Is that the only entrance?
yes.
Okay. I'm gonna say to Bar straight directly. Bar,
No,
don't be scared. I'm going to turn into a constrictor snake.
Okay. You all see Tara's form.
Yeah.
You see her neck just and begin to crack and stretch, and her shoulders recede in to nothing as she lays down on the ground, her legs almost fused together. And in this quick few blinks, you find her form just slowly turn to a green tinge, and scales begin to just push out of her form and coat the exterior. And in a few moments you find...
And I'm going to use my snake form now to venture forth, about, say, 5 or 10 foot, turn around to Rayloff, and mind link with him briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mind link, to say, I'll go. Check it out, I'll be back. And I'm going to turn back around and I'm going to head towards the door in a slowish pace, but enough to not arouse suspicion, or what I would assume to not arouse suspicion. And when I come to the door, I'm not going to go straight to. I'm kind of going to go round, get to the closest part of the door, and then kind of like go to the side and then.
Yeah.
As you are leaving, I will give you bardic inspiration, but in a slightly different way. I just going to turn to Rayloff a little bit and be like, "My God, I need to find a woman with a tongue like that." And that will be your bardic inspiration.
Instantly, Tara, your snake senses hear that, and just in the moment, you kind of feel a little sexy.
Awesome. Hearing it as well, I will extend my tongue to its fullest amount, and then put it back in. And then go.
as you see the kenku's feathers shiver and fluff up slightly, you turn around and you begin to and you slither.
Yeah, awesome.
It's a weird sensation as the sand coats your belly, and you gently glide through it, the dry sand, and it just doesn't stick, doesn't leave a mark. Almost comfortable as you slither through. And you begin to go up.
Quick addition, sorry.
Yes.
It has blind sight for 10 foot.
Okay.
I don't know if that will help at all.
You begin to slither up the stairs, the large stone stairs, that is also coated in a small, like, mist of sand. And almost immediately as you make your way 5 feet, 10 feet up the main stairway, your belly begins to feel wet and grainy as the sand is just sticking to this moisture, sticking to your belly as you slither through the partly congealed blood. Your tongue begins to... And as it gently just scrapes across part of the ground, as you find your way up, you get a very strong, almost like a musky iron.
Okay.
Not straight iron that you would expect from yourself whenever you've cut yourself, but a very just very musky of an iron.
Like it's been there for a bit in the sun.
More so, maybe not the most well preserved blood.
Okay. I will, knowing that I'm at the door, I'll be extra careful, and I will. I'll go in slowly, or more stealthily. Sorry.
Roll a stealth check for me. Is there anything that you guys are doing, Rayloff and Gerald?
Let me just make sure nothing here is. If it gives me anything bonus wise.
Should we hit the entrance?
Stealth dex. Okay. 16.
We should maybe move up slowly, but
We'll stay by the side, and if we hear anything, we burst in and help.
I will stay here.
Make a big roar if anything nasty approaches.
I can do that.
So, both of you, are you creeping to the side of the main doorway?
Yeah.
Roll stealth checks for me, please.
Oh, you said we're 50 feet away.
These two are? And
Yeah,
Bar?
from where I would be from the door.
No, you are... As you've gotten to the steps and slightly begin to slither up,
Yeah.
from the door, you're probably about 15 feet away.
Okay, but from them.
From them, I'd say as they begin to slowly approach towards you,
Okay.
I would say they're closing in about 40 feet away.
Okay, I will go back towards the entrance before I fully go in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know whereabout I'm looking, because that's where I was.
Yeah.
I'll try to generally look for Rayloff again, and I will, in still range, I'll use Mind Link to say, "It's free. Don't worry too much. I'm going in," and then I'll go in.
Okay.
If you can respond within like the 5 seconds before I turn around and what's it, feel free. You can.
Well, we're gonna slowly come up to you then.
Okay. I will still go in.
Yeah, that's fine. So,
I got 19, by the way.
19. Nice.
Too
Gerald.
soon.
11.
11. Not too bad.
Still too soon.
Both of you get lower to the ground and slowly begin to make your way up the stone stairway. And it's a weird sensation going from the flat, almost silent sand surface to the very gentle thud onto the stone steps. Then weird gravelly crunches under your feet as the coagulated blood and the sand just merge together to make this gravelly paste underfoot. As you just feel the of the blood just almost gargling under your feet as you make your way up and up. And you very quickly find yourselves at either side of the main doorway. Terra, unless there's anything you two want to do.
As we look down into the chamber, then can we actually see Tara making her way through the last parts, or?
Well, I'll go to Terra and then I'll come back to that.
Fair enough.
Terra, you turn and you go the last 15 feet and in to the dark chamber, the entrance foyer chamber.
Mm-hmm.
Still blank. You slither through. All of those heads are gone. You find the original, what you can remember, the splats and smears of blood made by those heads. Gone and vanished. However, you notice as you continue to slither further into that chamber, your belly it's not drying. It's getting wetter and wetter as your tongue lapping out again, finding your way around. You taste more of an intense musky iron. Almost like, imagine like that very noticeable, almost like fruity-ish, but earthy scent of manure mixed into the iron. That's the brief taste that touches your tongue. As you continue to slide on your serpent belly, and just from the touches, and you look straight down at the floor that you are slithering on, and you find that the foyer is nearly and entirely plastered with this crimson across the floor. Finding it begin to narrow towards the small steps that lead further down into the temple.
Could I roll in the blood to see if any sticks on me?
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of straighten out your snake body and just slowly, and as you roll, you feel a slight resistance, like glue.
Okay.
Gently just releasing from the ground onto your scales. And a few rolls, you find yourself pretty much nearly bathed in this dark, gelatinous blood.
Yep. I'm going to try my best to stick to the blood areas to kind of help conceal myself a little easier.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But I will try to venture forth.
Okay. Gerald, as you look through, you just barely see this green-scaled constrictor snake. Just the tail end of it slither further down that second stairway, leading further into the temple, and your eyes catch just as the light bounces in, and just one large shaft of light as the sun now is beginning, or amidst rising behind you, and the amber slowly glows in. The shaft of light almost illuminates most of this foyer. And you look and you see the walls are blank, as left. The ceiling blank. The floor covered and coated in the same viscous, gelatinous crimson that has coated the entire stairway. Yet those heads you remember finding before are nowhere to be seen.
Quick addition as well, if Rayloff can see me, he can respond to me for an hour. It's just whoever talks has got to see the other person.
Okay.
For the blood that's by the door, can I sort of tell if it's diseased at all?
Roll a medicine check for me.
Use your ladle.
Natural 20.
Oh!
Nice. What is the total?
20.
Oh,
I got
did you
a
say
non-natural
unnatural?
20.
Oh, non-natural. I thought you said natural 20.
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay. Non-natural 20. You smear some of the blood on your fingers and just feel it. You just feel the grains of sand making it almost like this sharp paste. And you smell. And just gently put a little bit on your tongue. Just spitting it out straight after. You're sure if there's any kind of taste to certain diseases, all this tastes like is that musky, manure-like iron. Maybe it's, from what you can gather, it is definitely way past the point of a humanoid's blood. But maybe another creature's blood that isn't necessarily on the best of diets or the healthiest in their condition. Not diseased by any means.
So it's not disease, but did you say, when you say way past the humanoid,
So the general colour and taste and smell is so musky and surpassing that fairly neutral irony taste and smell of humanoid blood.
Definitely not. We know it's not human.
Right, so it's not human. Okay. I'll sort of say over the connection then. It doesn't seem like it's humanoid blood. It could be some sort of creature, but for it to be that much, how big would it have to be? Or how many?
Go on. Or, sorry, what did he say?
Or how many, I said.
In response of knowing that he can see me now, I will very slowly turn around, or kind of like bend back around to look up. It's sick down here. More sticky. And tastes weird. I don't know what it is. I can't see anything though. Turn back down and I'll carry on going. Question, you know the puzzle floor, can I see anything that's been altered at all? Any footprints? Or I know I'm quite low down, but anything like the things have been moved at all, or is it being opened a bit, or anything like that?
Roll a perception check for me, or investigation if you are going to get hands or a tongue on.
I'll just say it'll probably be perception because
Okay.
I'm not going to investigate.
That's right.
Wisdom. Not looking good, but I am a snake, so I don't really care. Wisdom is, if that's it, is 7.
7. The light is fairly obfuscated in this chamber, as you remember. But with the smallest bit of light flickering from the two side chambers, you notice that the large circular grid has a crack in the center, as it's been opened no less than a foot.
Okay.
You see just coasting around the left side and continuing forward of this of the grid that is partially open. You notice like a darker strip as opposed to the lighter sandstone on the other side.
If I were to think of it as more footfall has gone that way, would I see that as being right, or probably something else? I don't know if that's a valid question or not.
I'll say roll a survival check with your snake stats.
Yeah, no worries, that's what I have to do anyways. Let me go back onto Gates Wisdom again, so flat. 5. I'm not rolling well for snake.
Roll for snake. You have no clue at this point as to what it indicates right now until you get closer and maybe almost just wait until you can have your belly and tongue feel what could be there, or maybe it's just a shadow and you'll taste stone.
One question. What does blindsight do?
Blindsight?
Sorry to be a pain.
No, don't worry. I'll get it up as it's.
I'm pretty sure you
as it
can
says.
see everything, including invisible creatures, but like not that you can see them, but you know they're there.
Like, I feel
that
the
makes
presence kind of
sense.
thing.
Yeah, it'd be imagine that you could tell they're stood in front of you, but also you couldn't physically see them. But you can't see through walls. So if they're
blind
behind a wall,
sight.
you wouldn't know.
A monster with blind sight can perceive its surroundings without relying on sight within a specific radius. Creatures without eyes, such as Grimlocks and Grey Oozes, typically have this special sense, as do creatures with echolocation or heightened senses, such as bats and true dragons. If a monster is naturally blind, it has a parenthetical note to this effect, indicating that the radius of its blind sight defines the maximum range of its perception. So, I know snakes aren't blind.
No, it only has 10-foot blind sight.
So basically, yeah, without any light within the 10 feet around you, you're able to see.
Kind of have an idea.
You have a very clear picture around you within the 10 feet radius. Outwards of that, it relies more on your natural sight,
General sight.
which may be a little bit, which usually is a bit weaker than your immediate radius blind sight.
Not a problem. I'm going to crawl towards the 1 foot little crack, and kind of like keep mixing my body on the floor, but kind of like usher my head over deep enough to see if anything's underneath.
All right. As you slither up to it, you notice that as you're kind of following slightly around the grid before you go like to the edge of this crack just on the sandstone, you notice your belly is still moist and retaining that wetness under you consistently.
Yeah.
All the way around this side of the grid as you follow that shadow, and you feel that you are still slithering through more and more crimson around that side before you dip your snake head and neck through. You can't see anything. It is almost pitch black within this grid and this huge precipice of nothing.
And okay, with not seeing anything, I will kind of like go back, or if I can't go back, I'll kind of like swiggle back up to come onto the floor, and I will take the risk, and I will go where the dark patch is.
Okay.
Could I interrupt to talk to Rayloff quickly during this period there?
Yeah, absolutely.
How long do we wait until we go for her?
Give her a minute.
And are we preparing to have her run away and us attack? Or are we just charging in?
Oh, we're never certain what's in there. We'll want to be discreet if we can. We're probably dealing with a beast or some beasts. Possibly something larger.
Are we saying as dangerous as the husks?
If there's enough of them, there will be. Especially if there's this much blood.
Right. How about on your signal, we'll go down. And that'll be us fighting then.
Okay.
Can I still see terror where I am?
Where the dark patch is, I'm going to taste the blood to see if there's any difference.
Still just the same intensity of that manure-y, musky iron.
Okay. I'm going to go back to where I could see Rayloff.
So right now you'd be turning and pretty much going back up the stairs.
Yeah.
Up
Yeah,
to
that's
look
fine.
through that foyer entry chamber to find the actual exit doorway to find Rayloff, and Gerald's kind of still peeking in, but they're looking around outside.
No problem. I can keep my constricted snake form for 3 hours.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll go
It's only been
so I mentally know.
15 minutes.
Yeah,
most.
I am going slow, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm doing this like to pretend like I'm a fucking
Like
snake.
you're a snake, yeah.
Yeah. There's a crack in the floor where the pits of sand was. There's nothing there. You can come down further. I'm going left. And I'm going to wait for a response to see this time before just turning.
I'll just say back and then through the link. Just be careful, we'll start heading in.
Okay.
Is there any torches there?
I'll kind of like just do a general perception. Do I see many torches?
In the
In
the
vicinity
trap
where
chamber?
where I was.
In the trap chamber.
Let's say look around.
No.
Yeah, sorry. No. There's none.
The only.
Is there any coming down?
The only you see in the entry foyer.
Yeah.
The two braziers, one on either side. You find a couple braziers within the sarcophagus tomb, like it's kind of like the openings of those chambers. So they kind of cast like very dim
Sunlight.
light into the trap chamber as the doors are still fully open on all four sides. The walls are up.
And not trapped and shut.
Yeah.
Cool. No worries. I would bring some light. There was none there.
I'll just sort of turn to Gerald and just sort of.
I'll turn around and.
I'll take one of my torches
Mhm.
out and I'll just use one of the braziers to light it.
Yeah, you just hold it over.
I will make sure that I am further enough distance so the torchlight doesn't reveal more of me. To kind of keep with the stealth.
Okay, all right. So you kind of dart further down.
Yeah. Before they've let everything up and start come down.
Okay.
I will.
As we're going down, I'll just take a look back quickly just to see if Bar's still there, or if I can see him from.
Roll a perception check.
Got it. 16.
16. As you know, he was almost like sort of like sunken into the sand and like just before like a small ridge where he could pop his head over if he chose to. But as he was lying flat when you left him, right now at this angle, you don't see him.
You alright? You look worried.
Wondering if Bar's still there.
Oh, I told him to make a noise. I'm sure he could be loud.
You go check on him. I'll start heading down.
I'll do it for real offsite there. We'll head back slightly.
Alright. So, Gerald, you begin to scoot backwards, back into the sunlight as the amber turning to gold very quickly. As you head further down the stairs and again the 30-40 feet away from the stairs to that ridge. And as you come up to the plateau, you look down and you see the large grey and blue skin of the ogre lying prone in the ground, kind of just.
You're doing a good job, buddy. You're very stealthy.
Thank you.
We are heading inside. There doesn't seem to be anything but more blood for the moment.
Be safe, please.
We shall. Now I must hurry. behind.
Go.
And yeah, I will quickly turn and head our way down.
Yeah, and you quickly before you get back up and in, and as soon as you kind of crest in, are you stealthing or are you just kind of flirting down?
Yeah, we'll try and go stealthy. I suppose I'll do like a scrape at the top with my claw, just so that rail off will turn, so then I can
Rail
just
off
point up.
as you begin to slowly just down the steps into the trap chamber. You hear
So look back. See here.
Yeah, you'll see Gerald dead at the top to give a thumbs up, and then I will try and stealth to go down.
Tara, you kind of like continue a little bit further around the grid and
Yeah.
stick into the shadows as you do see the torchlight begin to just flicker this radius of amber and
Yeah.
ember just flickering on the torch. Rayloff and Gerald, it comes clear as the light shines down towards the ground that you're stepping through and onto. As you get to just before the large grid in front of you, you kind of hover the torch over the ground, and you see this, where this still dark crimson is around just one side of the grid, and leaving that grid, heading forward, you notice very easily with this extra light as you lower down, and through the thick gelatinous blood, you see what almost indicates almost like a smear, as if something has moved through this and moved through the whole width of this trail, as the trail itself is about 2.5, 3 feet wide.
I was going to make the assumption that it's Tara in his head that has made the big, huge scraping thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm just gonna sort of look at it and go. Maybe head look back towards Gerald a little bit, just go. Sort of not say it, but sort of what on earth has caused this, and just we sort of come to the same conclusion. It's probably Tara.
Yeah, it's probably a big stake, but judging by that, it's like, did she roll in this? Does she want us to roll in this?
I'm just gonna shake my head and just carry on. I will go to the sort of middle of the trap. Not the middle, not to the middle of the trap, but to see if
just to the edge.
Yeah, just sort of see if I can look in
Yeah,
with the torch.
you look in and you kind of push the torch in just above your head and down slightly. As the torchlight just gently fills this precipice and this hole, you do still see a faint cluster of bodies and body parts.
Do I see any blood going down into it, like sort of from the, not from where I can see that going, but on like in the center?
Roll a perception check for me.
Natural one with a
Nice.
3.
You don't see any. The walls inside here are pretty dark, and your torchlight doesn't really fill the entire space.
Hard
But
to tell if it's like
it's
the
very hard.
difference between the stone or if it's coated in blood.
Exactly, yeah.
I'll just sort of go over there and just sort of look back to Gerald and just sort of gesture to the towards the throne room ahead, where I'm guessing the rest of the path goes up to.
Well, that's what Charles was going to look at, actually, was how many path of stairs does it lead through the blood's going to?
Roll a perception check for me.
50. No, can't get that right. 18.
18.
18.
You look off through the trap chamber, and you can just about see Tara in her snake form, still following, just getting to the end of the trap room, the very top, just before it hits the large stairway that leads to the throne chamber. And you notice a couple things. The first thing you notice is this long, almost endless trail of blood, about 3 feet wide, continues up the entire stairway from the trap chamber all the way to the throne room. And with that high perception check as well, as you see Tara is just beginning to get near onto the stairway, you notice, with the flickering torchlight from Rayloff behind you and the gentle flicker of the braziers on either side of the top of the stairway, almost that presentory fire and light into a throne room, you notice that smear, that scrape, drag formation in the blood between you and Terra matches up and is exactly the same 15, 20, 30, 40 feet ahead of Terra.
Oh. Okay, let's quickly pull a rail. I think there's another snake in here. And not just Tara.
That's... Where do you think it is?
I think the throne room. One Tara now.
I'll just look up and just say to Tara, there's another snake in there. General things.
Yeah, I'll turn around. Thank you. I will be extra careful. I'm going to quarter my speed to be super stealthy.
Okay. Roll a stealth check with advantage for me.
Stealth is Dex. Dex plus 2, 18.
18.
I definitely needed that advantage. Would have been a 5 if it wasn't.
As low as you are to the ground, you find yourself almost lower, minimalizing the side-to-side motion.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly being able to go straight, but very gentle slither. Slow and methodical. And you begin to crest up the stairway.
Yeah.
And you climb 10, 15, 30, 45, about 50 feet ahead as it begins to plateau in front of you, and you feel your belly, the front of your belly slowly just slip onto flat, solid stone, still wet and cold and damp with this congealed blood under you. And the throne chamber, as you get up there, is dim and dark. but you see almost like a wall, a makeshift wall of torches, each corner being one of the braziers that was on the outside perimeter of this throne room. You see 4 corners of braziers, all encircling, or almost guarding the throne. And these braziers you find are lit, as well as the torches. All of them, as they light up the throne, the large stone, partly broken throne, in all of its glory. And your serpent eyes narrow in. And about 30 feet away from you, as the large throne sits with almost this pyre of flame around it, almost ceremonially, everything's placed around the throne. And you look atop the throne is a large, lifeless, black-coated horse's head resting atop, with the blood gently smearing down. You see part of a horse's torso, still black-coated, but the coat hard to see as you look, and spread with rope and stretched across the width of the back of the throne, of the seat. The rib cage is open. The organs not there, but you see the muscle and the tissue and the sinew all just clawing and stretching as this horse's torso is just almost butterflied. You see 2 horse legs almost strapped gruesomely to the bottom of the throne, as if bent at the knee to where they are just slightly hanging off the seat. And you notice a smear of intestines laid out and almost fused against that back, the seat of the throne facing you. The intestines laid out, and you see plain as day 2 small words written in these lengths and almost ribbons of equestrian horse intestine, as it reads, "No more." And that's where we're going to take a quick break and come back in just a short while and pick it back up from there.
Yeah.
Okay, as we come back into the game, after the party have made their way heading to Cruel, the pillager. Terra noticed upon your journey as you gained some distance a lot sooner than anticipated, and you found your way back to the front of the Temple of Nesvidi from where you would once left. But a slight difference, you saw crimson coating the stairs leading up into the entrance chamber, and further trail narrowing down the stairs into the central trap chamber of the temple. And as Bar waited outside prone, observing and being as stealthy as he possibly could, Terra, Rayloff and Gerald, all three of you find yourselves within this central trap chamber, and you follow the trail that leads all the way up to the throne room, and you find a massacre of a black-haired horse, large and muscular, almost like half of an autopsy spread out across this throne, this large stone throne, and a message using its guts just pressed into the seat, into the backrest of the throne. Terra, you're the first to see this as Rayloff and Gerald are still within the trap chamber with the one torch holding up high. This is where we pick it up. Terra, you see the blood from all of the body parts that can do this. You see the smears and the drips of blood still slowly, ever so faintly, still sliding down gently, still coagulated, but dark and still moving down and down to continue to coat the seat of the throne. And all of that dark crimson being lit up to a bright, almost ruby red in places, by the almost ceremonial pyre that has been set, with at least on each small wall of torches, easily 10, just knocked against each other, resting against the small stone, step-up platform that's under the throne, and with the 4 braziers dotting the corners of this formation, all lit and flickering with firelight, brightening up, almost like a reverse spotlight, just coming up and casting a large shadow across the back wall of a very gaunt and gruesome horse head on a slight hill of a shadow.
I will stay put at the top of the stairs or wherever I've seen enough to be able to see all this stuff. For now, slithering still, and I'm going to wait for Gerald and Rayloff to come up,
Okay.
or at least enough so I can see the light approaching.
Gerald,
I'll,
Rayloff, what are you doing?
I'll just sort of see Terra sort of disappear past the top. I'll start heading up slowly.
Okay.
But I'll keep keeping a loop behind, essentially, keeping an eye out there, just in case something sneaks.
Alright. So Gerald, as you kind of like put your back to Rayloff, and you sort of step backwards, still facing the darkness and the dim light behind. Rayloff, you do find your feet crunching against the stairs, finding that similar just stickiness in the trail of blood leading up.
There's nothing. What's it called? As we go down, none of the blood looks like it is still flowing now, is it? It just all sort of just staying very sticky.
It's very still, almost like sludge.
Hmm. Yeah.
Sort of just keep heading up to the top, and
All right.
once I do get up there, sort of look and Gerald.
I will turn around, and without forgetting entirely that of the stuff, and go, "Holy fuck, that's not made by a snake."
Your voice echoes and bounces around. Tara, you kind of
Yeah.
just snap to your allies.
Yeah.
Sorry. Caught me by surprise. That is not what I expected.
Did the echo of the voice bring any attention to us? Any different sounds or any movement at all?
Roll a perception check for me, please. I'll say with disadvantage because it is in like a split second of reacting.
No problem. Perception is wisdom, so it's a flat roll. 13.
13. Just as Gerald exclaims, and the voice echoes and bounces and reverberates around you, getting quieter within moments to a dull silence. Just as the echoes cut out of Gerald's voice, leaving his beak,
Yeah.
you hear very faint just echo from the exterior of the temple.
Did it sound like Bar's roar?
It sounded like Bar making a noise, not a roar,
Okay.
but it definitely reminded you of the guttural grumbles of the ogre.
I'm going to turn around and noticeably fast between Gerald and Rayloff.
Yeah.
Whoa. Where
yeah,
are you
see
going?
this open.
As
Yeah,
I'm
I'll follow up.
doing this, I'm going to say to Rayloff, "That was Bar."
Yeah, I'll start sprinting. I'm assuming I'd sprint past because I have 40 movement.
Yes. 30 foot
Okay.
I have
Yeah, I'll just
speed.
start sprinting out.
Alright, Gerald, what are you doing?
Joe's gonna take actually a little bit of a
I'm gonna
closer look at
dash.
the dead horse quickly, just to see if there's like more to it, because I've got dark vision, of course. I
Okay.
can see in there.
Roll a perception or investigation check. Depending on if
We'll
investigation you're getting
investigate.
hands-on and you're getting very close and inspecting things. If it's
I'll
just
go-
looking, perception.
If I was to do could I do an investigation where I don't physically touch the entire thing, but I'm close enough that I would almost touch it?
That'd still be perception.
Or is that still going to be perception? That's
Yeah.
fine. I'll go with close perception.
Okay.
Because I don't want to be like that person who's purposely grabbing
I know,
the dead
yeah,
horse,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay, yeah.
Perception is 13.
13. The one thing you notice across this entire autopsy is the just vast amount of muscle tissue that this horse had. And you kind of look up to the head, and albeit you see the jaw is slightly, like the large lips, one of them is just slightly hanging a little bit lower. And off to the side, you notice the eyes are open and you see these small, soft brown eyes that you had once seen on an ally's horse.
That was my next question.
It is identical to the large black mare Thistle that Duke rode off with only a day or two before.
In which case, keeping something in my head, so then slightly after, he's going to run after Tara and Rayloff.
Alright, Tara and Rayloff, both of you, one of you floating through, and you feel the ground below you, Tara, begin to just shake slightly as just a big, large leg and feet begin to hurl past you, and both of you reach outside as the sunlight just blinds you in this moment. What do you do?
Literally, I'm just going to go towards where Bar was.
Both of you just launch straight down the steps, nearly Rayloff, you nearly tripping kind of over Tara as both of you are kind of like neck and neck, but Rayloff, you're just pulling off slightly as you
I'll
just
try to go up his leg then, if I can see that he's noticeably getting faster than me.
Okay, yeah, as Rayloff, you kind of nearly step on Tara. Luckily, she just quickly, as the serpent form, just
Wraps
like that, and then you feel like a squirrel up a tree as the python just wraps
I'm just going to
your
keep running
leg and
towards
thigh.
Bar.
Yeah, and you sprint and you sprint and you sprint and you get up to that crest about 45 or so feet away.
I'm going to prep to kind of pop like a spring to where.
Right, as you begin like around the leg that's moving, and you just curl up, and Rayloff just, and as you get up to the precipice and up to the plateau, you see no one. You see a large imprint of an outline and a dip of where Bar once lay. And you see a couple ruffles in the sand. But the one thing that is just almost impossible not to see is a slight, almost like oval dip near the dead center of this large outline of where Bar's form had been laying. About the dip in there, the near oval kind of the oval dip is about an inch and a half deep, about an inch and a half, 2 inches around, and it looks absolutely minuscule compared to the outline of and the crevice that has been created by Bar. And you see, just cutting through the body, some slight ruffles in the sand and almost footprints.
Can I see which way the footprints go? And how big they are?
You notice, roll a perception check for me. And at this point, Gerald, you do catch up.
15.
15. You estimate that they are no larger than a medium-sized creature, based on the foot size, and bipedal.
What's that, sorry?
Walks on 2 legs.
Fit. Awesome.
Yeah. Quadrupedal,
Cool, thank you.
dogs and horses.
Yeah,
bipedal,
makes sense.
yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
And you notice the direction as you kind of look up to the sky and you find the sun blaring at you. It's traveling. You see the footfalls at least aiming. As you see, footfalls look like they have approached the center of this form, of this crevice, and them, with that good perception check, doubling back on themselves southwestward.
Would that be towards Cruel's lair? Or is that the opposite way?
It would be from where you are now. It could be roughly in the direction of Cruel's hideout. You know, Cruel's hideout from the temple, looking away from the temple, was westward.
Yeah.
Or is westward.
Mm-hmm.
But you see the immediate footprints that look to be leading away are heading southwest, initially away from this crevice.
Sort of look back to. I'm guessing Bar's joined us at this point.
Gerald.
Gerald, you mean?
Gerald's
No,
joined
see,
us.
you know what I'm saying? It all gets locked up in there and you say the wrong name. It's fine, it happens.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
Yeah. All the time.
And it's annoying.
Yeah.
Whatever's happened to Bar, there's footprints coming. And so we point to where I saw him. I'm just gonna start heading towards.
Oh, it's gone already. Jeez, good Christ.
I don't think it was him that left. Someone might have took him.
Oh, that's just another problem now.
Is it just one foot or is it multiple?
You see one single set of footprints.
Yeah, I'm still
Whilst-
going down, following
Yeah,
the
yeah.
footprints.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna call like Tora. See if she appears something.
Yeah, my head will turn towards you and I'll mind link with you. Yes!
Was Duke in the temple?
I didn't see him, no. Was that a horse?
It was.
You'll see in my head like turn away in sad disgust. And I'll turn back.
Really?
Shh.
Are you? Have you got the tracks well?
Well,
As
I
we
would
can
have
move
been
as fast as
already.
we can.
Yeah, that would have been good few amounts of steps ahead.
Oh yeah, if you carry us straight on, then I'll run for him.
You begin to run and run and run, finding the footsteps and the footprints slowly disappearing.
Slow by the sand or slower by different tracks? Of like footfalls or
Just whereas around the body they were left fairly crisp and definitely there. The more as we get away and lead away from the temple, the footprints begin to become harder and harder and harder to find. What are you guys doing?
I'd like to activate the Eye of True Seeing to see if footprints are in any way being hidden magically, or if I can even detect anything because of this.
Alright.
Oh my god. I think going to steadily at first be like concentrating quite hard on the eye to like activate it. And then Gerald just suddenly closes one eye and then just gives it a couple more taps on the side of his head. He opens it up, and then the iris is now no longer just a gold iris, it is just a fully golden eye, activating, like, sort of humming slightly with that gold.
And
I'm gonna do a Yumi jump to go down the leg,
Yeah.
go back up the leg.
as Gerald, you feel that hum, and you feel it just gently vibrate all the way to the back of your skull. It's an interesting sensation, not unpleasant, just slightly uncomfortable, as you kind of feel that humming and whirring sensation. And you look around. There is no magic present. You don't see any creatures that are invisible. But in this moment, you do catch a small glimpse of red, gently peeking out of the sand about 15 feet ahead of you.
I will approach this red.
You lean down and you notice it's almost like a corner of parchment or fabric, stained with dark red crimson.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna start spreading, move part of the sand. We'll see.
Yeah. You move apart the sand, and as you do, and you hold on to the corner, it almost easily comes free, as you find it's a small cloth or like hand towel or handkerchief, and it's just covered in red. The only spots of white are the faintest parts of the corners, and through the red, just on the far right corner, you do see, you think you see some embroidery, but there's just a lot of almost that sludgy, gelatinous red and blood and viscous guts that are just smeared over it and the rest of the fabric.
Sort of hold it up at first. Does this remind you of anything?
Just gonna weave my head left and right.
Real?
I'll sort of take it and just get a better look at it.
Alright, roll investigation or perception check for me, whichever you choose.
10.
10? It's okay. You take it, and just in this moment of worry and anger, you kind of just like push and smear your thumb across it, and I'd say it's about like 5 inches by 7 of like this handkerchief, this hand towel, and you smear, and as you press hard and push, you notice like in the center you do clear some of the viscous guts and blood away from this handkerchief, and you see more of a pinkish reddish hue of the fabric that is now stained underneath. And what catches your eye is, as you are like sort of moving it around and moving your thumbs around, and some of the coagulation of internal bits that are all condensed and pressed into this cloth. Move with your thumbs. You coast your thumb over firmly against that one corner where you see some slight stitching or embroidery. And as you do, you curl it across, and what becomes a little clearer to you are two letters stitched into the fabric in very neat and presentary calligraphy. The two letters you read are E-B.
E-B. Does that mean anything to anyone?
Not Eric again.
Good mind link.
Did you cover this?
I think it's Eric.
So I'm gonna now start digging a little bit more around that sand area then to see if there is anything just a little bit buried a bit further deeper.
You begin to dig and dig and dig for the immediate surface level of the sand. And you don't find anything else.
Fair enough.
Some of the sand you shuffle away still has that slight little crimson within it from when this rag was left, dropped, placed, hidden.
It's a bit of a long shot, but it's a question. Which direction is the wind blowing?
The wind,
If there is any breeze.
you do feel a slight breeze. Same one that you felt early morning when you came out of the small hideout of Mogrosh.
Okay, yeah.
The wind right now is heading northeastward.
I'm going to slither down Gerald's body, and I'm going to go that direction to see if there's any indication of more crimson, or if there's any possible chance that it could have come from here and it's blowing to here.
Okay. Roll a investigation check for me. As you notice Tara almost very quickly doubles back on yourselves, heading kind of parallel to the temple of where you just come from.
16.
16. As you slither through the sand, now taking your time to almost at times burrow your head through the sand. And what you do notice is a couple of the burrows, and you come up, your belly or your head sort of knocks against something moist and spongy. And as you kind of clear the sand away with your tail and look back,
Yeah.
chunks of sinew, muscle tissue, fur, black fur. You notice just almost coagulated clots of blood littered between where you found the rag and heading slightly in the direction of the temple. If you were following a straight line from the clues or the evidence, it would almost be parallel with one of the corners of the temple.
With the little chunks of flesh and the brown, what's this? I will try to use my snake-like body to kind of go around it and kind of tighten up so the sand kind of pushes it up into more view.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to Gerald, do a little circle around him, and then go back on myself.
Yeah.
To see if he will follow.
Yeah, I'd follow that.
I can do that. And then when I get to it, I'll circle around it.
You follow Tara, and you see the large snake begin to like dip into her own created almost like sand basins. And at the center of each basin is more guts and intestines, muscle tissue, flesh with black fur on the back. And you're, as well as you, Tara, you are both unsure as to whether this had blown from the rag, or from the source of the rag, or whether they had been dropped there, placed there, and right now it's near impossible to determine which way they might have been placed, on what direction of whatever passing through.
Once I know Gerald's had a solid look at all the bits that I've spotted, I'll go back to Gerald and what's off his leg again.
Right. What are we doing? Do we assume Kroll's kidnapped Bar and we head to there? Or are we going to search the desert?
I think we should find Cruel at the place we know he'll be.
Do you want to find Cruel? Rayloff? What do you want?
I think it's safe to assume at this point that Eric is probably working with Cruel, and
Are we even sure Eric is alive?
If we can find Cruel, or if we can confirm that he's not there, then if not, I don't know where else he would have gone to. That's probably going to be the best place to check.
And we have no time to waste. And Gerald's going to start setting up the Doom Whisper. Yeah,
Alright.
Awesome. Because the Dune Whisper would have gone into me in wild shape. For however long I've got left, I'm going to stay on. Gerald.
Sorry?
Morphos came to my head first, and
I
I'm thinking
know.
it's not
Yeah,
Morphos.
Gerald is a little bit nicer than Morthos.
Just a turn.
He's a lot nicer.
He's a decent bit nicer.
Question made.
You both begin, or you wrap around Gerald's leg as he begins to set up the Doom Whisper. Rayloff, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'll do the same.
Okay. You both get on your Doom Whispers respectively and hammer it down. Where are you heading?
West of the temple, over. As far as we'll go.
Towards Cruel's Eye, where we assume Cruel's Eye will be.
Okay.
I'd say about 5-10 minutes before I know that my wild shape's going to drop, I'm going to turn back round to Gerald to say, "Stop with just one sec." And then I'll kind of revert back and sort of do whispers.
Alright.
Yeah, I'll slow down just to let that happen.
If it gets to that stage
Yeah.
that we need to.
Across this journey, while Terra, you feel that sense to revert and your form beginning to change again, needing to find that release back to normality. You usher Gerald and Rayloff to slow down and stop for a second, and as you do, you change back and frantically begin to set up the Doom Whisper. And you look up and you see clear blue skies as the sun is burning down upon all of you. The breeze now almost non-existent. As you continue traveling and the hours very quickly burn away, and as you reach what you estimate to be the 5th hour of travel, covering anywhere between 120 to 160 miles westward across Growldeem and the Crawler's Respite, through the golden sands and the dunes and the curves and the dips, you crest along and continue onwards, frantically full of hope, worry, and curiosity.
No flips or trips.
No flips.
Concentration is full.
This is a no flip zone.
No joke.
No joke.
Yeah.
As you all plummet through the dunes, you come up to a small, almost log cabin like shack that has been boarded up, then open, then boarded up again, as you see along the grey, almost mildewed wood, the multiple used nail holes and indents of the dust where the boards once were up, then down, then moved. And you find in front of this small, just one floor hovel. You see in front of it is a large, vicious looking sword that is planted blade side down into the sand. And you see atop the handle, not resting, but impaled on whatever is upon the pommel of the handle, you see a mossy green skinned head with 3 or 4 thick, almost dreadlock-like braids hanging down from one side of the head, while the other side of this head is just gone. Torn, blasted, blown away. An entire chunk missing. And the grey, almost moving at a glance but dead still brain inside, looking up at you And catching this sight, you hear of something flapping gently. And you kind of look around the head. And just in the one portion of the head that still remains, you see a small pin sticking and piercing a small piece of parchment to the back of this creature's severed, half torn, blasted head.
I'll go and take the note. As I'm going to do it, does it look similar to? I can't think what is
Mogrush?
Mergrush's sort of called, like sort of like an orc.
It looks the face looks very orcish.
Yeah.
But no tusks and a little bit of a broader, like wider jaw, more square. And as you just take this bit of parchment that's been pinned to the back of its head, just due to like a slight nudge, you see its jaw just hang open, and you just see all of its teeth sharp and jagged and disgusting, all just pour out of his mouth and just drop to the sand below it. A few of his teeth resting on the inner lip, and the tongue that is gently lulled out.
I'll give the note a read.
Before you start reading it, is it like you said? It's a hovel. Is it sheltered by the light?
The hovel meaning it's just a small shack.
That we can fit in.
2 windows, a roof, no other stories above that one singular like ground level. The wood itself disused for what you can ascertain years and years.
But the shade.
Yes.
I'm going to go into the middle of the floor area and go. And I'm going to use a half of the moonlight and shadow while we take a little
As in the
break.
I will just cover the hovel, meaning because it's a small home.
Yeah.
There is like a door and like 2 windows set by the side, like cracked glass and boards partly across that glass, but there is a door as well.
Okay. And this body is outside of the door. Okay,
well,
then ignore me entirely.
The head is set up on the
The
pommel
sword
side of a
that's
sword.
Ignore me entirely then. That's fine. For some reason, I thought it was within. So
that might
you
be
did
my
describe
bad.
fine, but no, it's fine.
All right.
When you just said that, it's like, what's it? But no, it's cool.
Okay.
No worries.
Joel, do you do anything? Joel, are you doing anything while Tara kind of like looks over to Ray off as he's taking in the note, and you begin to fold it out. It's not a lengthy message, but it's written in common, by hands, almost chalk or lead pencil. Fairly rough, but discernible and understandable. It reads, "Cruel ain't no problem no more. I got word out. Brenton's going to be safe. P.S. I didn't catch my horse last night. If you see her running round, call her over for me. I'm missing her. Duke.
Did you read it out loud or off or something?
Well, take a second to go through it, and I'll just I'll read it out to people, and after that I'll just go. I don't think it would. I don't know where it would have gone. It's possible
like,
that he might have come back to Brampton.
He's gonna be kicking this. Joe's gonna be kicking something. God, 5 hours of traveling. Fuck. He's just gonna be kicking the sand essentially repeatedly, just muttering random curses of how we've wasted that for literally nothing.
Wasn't a waste. We know they're
What?
both gone now.
Mm.
Cruel and Mogrish are no more.
And who kidnapped her? Bob. Fuck. Fuck. Don't do that.
Eric did.
Where the? And you think they're back to Brenton?
Probably. Do you think magic was involved?
More than likely. I very much doubt that he could just pick up a giant ogre.
Isn't he a little dwarf as well?
I'm going to try the door handle to see if it's being locked.
It opens freely.
It's open.
I think if you don't go in right away, Gerald's just going to barge in there now. Just have a look. He's going to start like just rummaging, searching, trying to find anything that will be useful there.
Alright. You kind of bust in to this small shack and you find one small singular table and barely a stool. No bed. You see a few blankets and almost rags to one corner. Still curled up, and the smell instantly hits you. Urine and feces just mixed in and moulded and fused by the heat, albeit cooler within here, only slightly. You see upon this desk one small map.
If Gerald doesn't pick up the blankets, I will.
No, he'll go straight to the map if he sees them.
Yeah,
That'll probably be more likely.
That's cool.
You will see the map hand drawn and etched into one piece of thick parchment. You see a few scribbles, but then erased. You see, at least on the map now, if you're looking at it, you see just barely north of this stream of this roadway, you see a small circle just scrawled around and a cross through it. You see slight dots leading from that circle and cross up to where it outlines the forests of Everglade Peak. And just barely crossing that threshold of the forest, you see two large question marks scrawled upon it.
Judging by the scratches, because we've seen Duke's other map, are they roughly similar to what he would have done or has done?
Roll an investigation check for me.
Also, with me, I would have come this way to get to Brenton. Would I have seen what would have been about there? Or would I have been too far away on the road?
You would have came, let's say, from the opposite side or near the furthest away of Everglade Peak.
Okay.
And you would have coasted around the opposite side of the mountain line, following the Meridian Road, and over those mountains, Rumble Shore.
Not a problem.
So I would say that you came to Brenton just a little ways off. That way. Just slowly,
cool.
just kind of creeping around with the Meridian Road.
No problem.
But you do know, as you have Terra straight away, as you have travelled from near the Everglade Peak, all along the roadway to this southernmost point of Growldean, estimating how long you had travelled, passing any kind of stream in this desert, which should be few and far between, never together, you would estimate that roughly just about here, the centre of this ping, is where the Temple of Nesvidi currently resides.
Okay.
But you see this map flattened and just set against this top of a single table, and one stool that has 3 legs, and one of the legs is more or less nearly snapping at the base.
It's a 15, by the way, on the investigation.
The handwriting and the scribbles look more, how do I put it, feral and careless compared to Duke's scribble, but well laid out and well thought out before he had touched pencil to parchment or quill to parchment.
I will go to Rayloff and ask for the. I know he's not here. And ask for the notes to be able to bring them together for easy comparison.
Yeah. And Rayloff just quickly hands you the
Thank you.
parchment.
And I'll go towards Gerald. Here's the notes he wrote. Or it might not even be him.
It's not Duke.
Do we have anything like he's given to us apart from the small map that he's shown. Oh, yes, his handwriting from what's it? His handwriting from his little note for the two Minnesfiti. I'm gonna pull out that note of the map and see which ones match with that writing, because we know it's from him. I'm gonna see if there's any difference.
You kind of like place them all next to each other in this small little triangle of parchment with the map on one corner, the scribbles of his map of the Temple of Nesvidi that he gave you, and then the small note and that he left on the back of Cruel's severed head.
Yeah.
And you notice the hand-drawn map that he gave you, and the question marks very, very similarly line up with his style of handwriting from the note that was written and left. Just the curve of the line as it curves around, but then it comes to like a slight little jagged knock before it becomes straight. And you notice that throughout his shorthand upon the parchment that was left on the back of Cruel's head.
Yeah. Or was like kind of like looking down on him, I'll kind of like outline with my finger. You see this part here? That's pretty much the same as this part here. Can you see?
But look at the rest of it. It's so wild.
I know.
We see. Wait, do you think Duke found out about this horse already? And he's angry? That is his path?
I don't know, but all I can see here is that note matches this map, and that map handwriting is not his. This is done by someone else, and I don't think, pointing at the corpse, it was that person. Unless I'm going to actively try to find anything written in his. I know he said there was only a table and a stool, but is there literally anything else?
You look
that
around.
Could possibly be.
You quickly take a glance around, and it is bare to the bone. The only thing that is resting atop the wooden floors that are partly rotting is a thick layer of dust, sand seeping in from the broken glass windows, and a few dead spiders lining the skirting boards.
Sorry,
I
Ralph.
think Eric was the one who wrote the map. He did come here to investigate it just with Duke as well.
It's very true.
But then to be laid out like this, it's a trap.
And I can tell by the moss on that corpse, it's been here for a very long time. It's not happened yesterday. Did Duke actually say when he came to the tomb?
I can't remember.
It could have been something they did before.
But then he wouldn't just leave it here the second time he comes around. He wasn't quite so keen on leaving evidence last time. In the temple.
And just as you... It's alright.
I can hear someone talking.
yeah,
I
it's
thought,
okay.
yeah, that's it.
And just as all of you look to each other and the pieces of parchment, Tara,
Yep.
you notice just gently upon Gerald's back a small singular white circle just appear and shaking slightly as it coasts down his back and across his shoulders, kind of past his head. The circle darting to one wall for an instant before it lightly flutters and stays on one of the arms of Rayloff. And your narrow eyes just glance and kind of turn your head, looking through one of these broken glass windows, and far, far off in the horizon, you see a singular white dot.
I'm going to shout, "Down!"
I will.
And I'm
go
going
up
to
with
duck.
Rob.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to end tonight's episode. And come back next week to pick up from there.
It was fucking trap.
Holy fuck, that's intense.
It was a trap!
It's a trap!
Exclamation mark.
Yeah.
God's sake.
Alright, well, that was fucking awesome. I'm really excited
That's
for
what it
next
was.
week now.
It's going to be
Yeah.
hope.
Alright, well, with all that said and done, thank you very much for watching. It was a lot of fun. We'll see you next time.